Hey everybody, today is Tuesday, April 14th, and today I want to talk to you about libraries. But before we talk about the history of libraries, we should probably define what a library is. According to Wikipedia, a library is a curated collection of sources of information and similar resources selected by experts and made accessible to a defined community for reference or borrowing, often in a quiet environment conducive to study. Sounds mostly like our library. Our library isn't always a quiet environment conducive for study, but guess what? That's okay. Our defined community, from the definition, is you, the public. And part of our expansion is to help provide a space for conducive, quiet study while also allowing for a lot of the fun stuff that we are ready to do to happen. Okay, when did humanity start curating these resources for reference or borrowing? Would you believe that the very first libraries didn't even contain books of paper? That's right, they contained stone tablets that were often an inch thick. A lot of these tablets that have been recovered today show financial transactions and other government documents and information. But the first libraries didn't have paper. In fact, it is when historians look back in time, it is that these stone tablets, these first recordings of human interaction, that they date the transition from prehistory to history. So those first tablets date back to about 2600 BC. So that is when historians sort of mark the difference between prehistoric man and modern society. I shouldn't say modern, but historic society as we know it, ancient society. So let's see, what else? Oh, according to legend, the very first librarian recorded in history was Lao Zi. He was the keeper of books for the Zhou dynasty in China. There is no actual proof that this person existed, but the myths point to this man, Lao Zi, as the keeper of books, the first librarian. An ancient librarian that you may have heard of was the library in Alexandria, Egypt. It was supposedly contained the collected knowledge of the world at the time. Manuscripts from all over the world were stored here. It eventually was destroyed around 287 BC. One of the first instances of some trouble at the library was actually in 48 BC when Julius Caesar was trying to escape Alexandria, set fire to some ships in the harbor, and the fire spread to the town proper, and not many, but some of the manuscripts from the library were destroyed in the fire. But again, it wasn't until, 272 AD that the library was gone for good. Nobody knows exactly what happened because the record keeping had sort of fallen off at the time, but it is assumed it was destroyed by another Roman attack from the Emperor Aurelian. So a lot of historians point to the loss of that library as sort of a major setback for knowledge going forward. As Rome declined, so did the idea of libraries. Many large librarians existed only to be burned by invaders, either Christians invading the Holy Land or Muslims invading Europe. So a lot of libraries and a lot of knowledge were destroyed during that back and forth time. The Christian church and many wealthy aristocrats did maintain small private libraries during this time. As paper became more readily available, the Muslim world also began to develop large libraries. These libraries and many of the libraries that we've talked about were not generally open to the public. They were available for scholars and really were just a repository for this knowledge. It's not often that a lot of people would go in and study the things that were there. They were just stored there to be preserved. Let's see. In the late Middle Ages, European monasteries kept good collections in their libraries, but a lot of that was very Christian focused. They ignored many of the historical Greek and Roman writings, so a lot of that was lost due to their focus solely on Christian history. It was in the Renaissance, though, that some of these scripts were recovered and collected in large non-subject-specific libraries in Europe. The golden age of libraries is known to be the 17th and 18th centuries. The Francis Trigg Chained Library of St. Wolfham's Church in Lincolnshire is believed to be the first library in which patrons were not required to be part of a specific church or college. It was, in fact, open to the public. Before that, you had to be a member of a specific organization to access a specific library. So many public libraries in the United States sprang up as a result of support from wealthy citizens. People like Andrew Carnegie and George Shaw saw the importance of offering knowledge to everyone, not just the people that could afford books or private lessons. Today, these libraries, these patroned libraries, can be found all around the U.S. and the world. In fact, Andrew Carnegie is responsible for nearly 1,000 libraries worldwide. Today, many libraries are publicly funded by the city, county, or other geographic organization in which they reside. A small percentage of taxes collected goes to support the library. That's how it works in Cloquet. The Cloquet Public Library is funded mostly by taxes. Today, 21st century libraries are now pivoting to meet everyone's needs. The library isn't just books anymore. Libraries today offer digital services like Wi-Fi hotspots, online databases, and a lot more. The library is also a great place for patrons of all ages to take or teach a class. In the past year, our library in Cloquet has hosted musicians, painters, sculptors, unicyclists, authors, quilters, and even, via web conference, NASA engineers. It isn't just all books and quiet. I know I speak for the whole staff when I say we cannot wait for you to be able to come back to the library. I hope you found this a little interesting. I actually learned quite a lot that I did not know from researching this, and it was great. So if you have a little library fact that you know that you want to put in the comments, go ahead. Or if there's something I touched on that you want to know more about, let me know. Tomorrow I want to do something a little different. We're going to go outside and go for a walk. So until then, be safe, and we will see everybody tomorrow. Take care.